He almost had to cancel the taping because he broke a nail. Adam Carolla.
Why tonight? Yeah, get it on. Got to get it on. No choice but get it on. Amanda, get it on. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for telling friends. We love that about you, right, Gina Grad?
That's right.
And Bald what?
Oh.
Bald Brian's got the bad flu.
Yeah,
so he's
under the weather.
Not coming in. Much to talk about today. So excited for Gina. I'm proud of Gina.
Thank you.
For doing her 12-hour walkabout. She took the challenge. Definitely had an out. I was supposed to go this Saturday as well. I then used the excuse that I was going to be in Malibu and I didn't want to walk up and down PCH and want to walk in the hills. So I bumped it into this coming Saturday. Somebody promptly tweeted me and said, I did the 12-hour walk. I did it in Malibu and I went in the hills. And I thought, those canyons are steep, man.
Yeah. And
there's a lot of cars zooming around.
Yeah.
And that's a ballsy move to whoever tweeted me that. But so Gina had an out. 12 hours of walking. The challenge is leave the house, put the phone on airplane mode, no conversing, no earbuds. No music, no podcasts. You're allowed to stop. You can rehydrate. You can get a coffee. You can get a sandwich, but then be on your way.
Yep.
And it's something that most people would not look forward to, although I can see the inherent gains of it.
Yeah, I did look forward to it.
That's amazing. And it's also an indictment of your life.
Thank you.
But I was like... There was speculation. Is Gina going to do it? And I remember throughout the day on Saturday, I was like, God, it's 11:30. Gina's been out for 5.5 hours now, and I would check in at 2:00. And then I became envious as I would look at the clock and it was like 3:15. I was like, oh, she's got to be almost done by now. So,
and the weather, it was perfect. Picture perfect.
So remember... This was brought on by a guy who walked across Antarctica.
Not as perfect weather.
And what truths, what memories, what feelings may you have if you're just alone with them for that period of time? Colin O'Brady. So
that's right.
Interviewed him for Take an E. So I was inspired. So walk us through the day, literally and figuratively.
Sure. Well, to be fair, and I think because you were like the first person I had to notify, because I really wanted you to know that it had happened. It was more like a little over 11 hours because I basically did sun up to sundown, about a half hour past sundown. So it was 6:23 to 5:43. And it's like when you wake up in the middle of the night and you see the clock, those numbers are like burned into your head. So that was my walkabout time. That was me heading out in the morning. It was very light out. Like the sun comes right on up. So I did not have any worries. The biggest question everyone has asked me was, did you map your route? And I thought, fuck no. The whole point of this is to feel free. I mean, it was for me anyway. I don't want to be thinking about those types of things. I don't want to be distracted by a route. So I just started walking. And you know the area. I was basically Sherman Oaks, Studio City, never more than 3.5 miles from the house, 4 miles from the house.
How much mileage did you cover?
Like miles wide? Like how many? Over almost 21 miles, over 50,000 steps.
I guess they say the people that are moving at a clip with purpose will get 28, 30 miles.
Excuse me.
Out of there. So 21, I'm only going off of what people said. 21 seems on the lower end of mileage.
Thank you.
What percentage of time were you walking versus resting, which is fine, or just standing still or eating or whatever?
That's really interesting because another big thing that I was excited to talk about was I really didn't stop very often because first of all, I like to move at a decent clip, and when you have a 7-year-old, you can't. So I liked, even when I was sore, I was moving at the same pace. And then when it would really start to hurt, sitting down wasn't worth it because it was really hard to stand up. So it's easier just to kind of mosey and kind of keep walking. So maybe I'm a slower walker than I thought. I felt like I was moving at a pretty nice pace.
I don't know, Chris. Whoever tweeted me who did the Malibu walk, I think got to 28 miles or something like that.
And I avoided interacting with people I never went into a restaurant or a shop. I forgot my moleskin. Do not forget your moleskin. About 4 hours into it, I had pretty bad blisters. So I walked all the way home, which was pretty far, put on my moleskin. Nobody was home. Nobody talked to me. Put on my moleskin, made myself a sandwich, ate it standing up over the counter, and headed right back out. So I wasn't even home 12 minutes, which was good because then I knew I wouldn't talk to anybody.
35 miles, Derek Sparts.
I call foul.
That seemed longer than I even remember.
That's crazy.
Walk through the hills. Sorry, Gene.
Are they a fucking Iron Man?
This is about you, baby.
I feel like it is. That can't be. This is some hardcore motherfucker. I represent the normies.
That's right.
The regular folk. If I can do it, you can do it, people. So congratulations to you, but that's not us. So one thing I absolutely noticed was how much easier it was walking without headphones. I wasn't fumbling. I wasn't losing Bluetooth connection. I didn't have to worry about what podcast was coming up next or if I like this song. I felt so free of all that. The colors literally felt brighter. Like everything felt more significant. The birds were chirping. It was a really nice, quiet, beautiful day. And I just took in so much stuff that I would have missed just by, I don't know, just being dulled. My senses being dulled by the music or a comedy show or whatever. So I'd say for the first 3 hours, I really hope Brian reviews this movie. I'd say for the first 3 hours, I thought nonstop about Don't Worry, Darling, because I had just watched it the day before. You know, the Olivia Wilde, Harry
Was it
Styles.
good?
I watched it twice over the weekend.
Wow.
So I very much enjoyed it. Yes, there are plot holes. Yes, there are tropes. Still very enjoyable. Thought a lot about that movie. And then after that, I was like, I'm not going to force it. I'm just going to walk. And if something pops into my mind, it pops into my mind. About 6 hours in, I started thinking about shit that I don't know if I've ever thought about. I remember it happening at the time. I don't remember thinking about it happening. I started having this barrage of interactions with elementary school teachers that I never would have even thought about again. I wouldn't have even thought of their names. And it ended up being, not in any linear order, but it ended up being back and forth between my fourth grade teacher, who would always tell me how much she adored me because I would, quote, have something nice to say even if the sky was falling. And my sixth grade teacher, who told me how frustrating it was to teach me and how lazy I was. And so I kept toggling between Miss Moffat and Miss Cadwallader back and forth. And it really, it just, I don't know. Those two were just everything they sort of represented to me at the time, how my life was with, going through my parents' divorce in sixth grade and not having the attention span that I would later on Ritalin and that sort of thing. And I guess I was frustrating, but she wasn't a fan of mine.
I just spoke to my sister, and it's such a big deal, which is when we were transitioning from the hippie school to the system with bells and tardies and lining up and sounding off.
Sure.
It was so regimented from where we came from, 70s, Billy Jack, school.
First name teacher.
Somebody's house in Silver Lake. Go there and make shit out of, pottery,
Accredited?
make pottery. And I don't think anything was anything. But when we had to transition, and by the way, school, when you were at a hippie school in the 70s, school, that's an institution. That's, analogous to going to prison. It's got a fence around it.
Right.
All the schools out here are very federal facility looking. I mean, the doors are locked. They have that weird reinforced glass with the screen in it. You know what I mean? Like when you see where they're dragging Linda Hamilton to and like Terminator, that's what the halls of every school that was built in the 30s that I went to looked like.
Your high school was literally army barracks.
Yeah, they were like fortified with a fence around it. And so when we were thinking of going from the Billy Jack, free range, chuck a dirt clod, call your teacher by their first name, school to this,
to the
it was
penal
like
system.
It was like we're going into the system.
Yeah.
And I got Mr. Backus, who was the cool teacher.
Nice.
I got the fifth grade teacher, Mr. Backus. That's the one everyone, sense of humor, funny, sort of encouraging, kind of knew I was a shit student, but he kind of marveled at my physicality because I was better at everyone at all the sporting stuff. And then my sister got Mrs. Parker, the 50s throwbacks.
The old bag.
The old bag snob. You march yourself, young woman, right into. And that was it for her.
Yeah.
She was like.
That was the path you were on.
That was it. She was dropping out of the 8th grade 2 years later.
Yep.
Like literally just got the shit teacher, fucked up the trajectory. This shit is bad. Mrs. Parker hates me. I don't belong here. Done. And then I got the cool guy who's like, I got Mrs. Harvey the next year, who wasn't the cool guy. But I'd made it into the system because I've sort of had a soft landing with Mr. Backus.
Yes, absolutely. And ours was a sort of a hybrid of that because we didn't have walls. So all the classes were open. So for little kids with ADD, it was a fucking nightmare. And we didn't have bells, but there was a lot of like lining up and sit down and shut up. But it was just carols. Are carols even a thing? Go sit at the carol. It's time out. Sit at the carol.
Oh no. We had the corral. For the donkeys.
Right. This is similar. Yeah. So like teachers, and once you got to 5th, 6th grade, you could see over them. You just watching all the classes. It was a big open room, very hard to learn. And that's why I never talk about it because frankly, I have massive imposter syndrome. How I made it into fucking Mensa when I did all the regimented testing with a psychologist. It's a point of pride to me because I didn't think I was stupid. I knew I was stupid. It was not up for debate. Gina was nice. She was fun. She was caring. She cracked a joke every once in a while, but smart she ain't.
So the feeling,
that was a big deal.
It took about 6 hours
to get to that point.
And
then it was so funny because I've lived here for almost 20 years and it's very diverse. The names are diverse. The culture's diverse. I just got flooded with the names of the children from Kansas. You had so many. If you were a boy, your name was Jason, Matt, or Ryan. If you were a girl, you were Megan, Beth, or Katie. Maybe Lindsay.
Did it open you up to like when I took mushrooms for the first time? I did see the Lee press-on nail commercial, and I was like, we're putting weird bloody claws on our tips of our fingers like an animal or something, and this is attractive. And I was deconstructing things because I'd gotten so far away from the basic reality because I'd been altered. But I would imagine there was some of that going on in this journey as well.
Funny you should say that, because the one thing I wasn't going to mention, because it sounds so dumb now, I became obsessed with while I was walking. It's going to sound insane. Don't know why I really hammered down, but my one high moment was probably 8 hours in. And I started thinking about like, okay, when people say like, no bullshit, no snark. When people say, let's make America great again. What is the time that America was great? And what are we hearkening back to? When I was really trying to really, really dissect this, and I was thinking about Don't Worry, Darling, how everything's like this perfect 60s, Palm Springs, perfect. I would like to live in that. And I would like all cultures to live there with me. So what is it? And I thought, I love that aesthetic. What are we missing? A good aesthetic and etiquette. And then I became obsessed with the portmanteau aestheticate. And if we could get back to a really great aestheticate without all the hate and the bullshit and the tribalism, we could really live in a perfect society. And that was about around 4 o'clock. I started thinking about that and nothing else.
That was about 8 hours in.
Yeah.
And were you sore? Were you tired?
Very. So the soreness started about 4 hours in on the outside of my legs. Then they moved to the front of my legs. Then they moved to the inside of my thighs. That was the order it went for me. Once I put the moleskin on, my feet were fine the entire time.
You just put it over your heel where it's rubbing?
Around each individual toe. And the side of your big toe. And that way it was fine all day. But yeah, my legs are really sore, which was why I kept walking, because when you're sore and you sit down, it's very hard emotionally and physically to get back up.
What did you bring with you?
I had my backpack, this little canteen, a thing of beef jerky that I think I forgot. I want to do all of the reads and ads for this company. It was called Kalahari air-dried beef because I eat beef now. Oh, that's all I ate. That and a sandwich around 11 o'clock. I'm obsessed with this beef jerky. I really want them to do reads for us. I really want them to be a partner. I found it at Gelson's.
You didn't have to do a sock change?
No, because I wore the socks that Vinny told me to get called Darn Tough, and they're wool, and they were fine.
And so you got in as it was getting dark, or a little after dark.
I made sure I was in my neighborhood by the time the sun went down so I could walk a little bit more because I hadn't hit 50,000 steps and there was no fucking way I was going to go in under 50. So it started to get dark. That was the first time I pulled my camera out to take a picture as I was walking home. I get inside and my husband makes a sign for me and had this little, he's like, I'm sorry, I didn't think to like actually buy you anything, which I obviously didn't need. He made a cute little sign.
Were you,
hung it up in the kitchen.
Did you sleep like a baby that night?
I don't remember falling asleep. I don't know when it was. I have no memory of it. He said I could eat anything I wanted. We ordered chicken parmesan, but I didn't have the pasta. I had the salad with it, and I don't remember falling asleep. I was so goddamn sore the next day. It was very hard to get up. And remember, I had a major surgery in the spring.
Right.
I felt exactly the same, like walking all slow, crouched over. He's like helping me, but I was fine. It actually feels much better to keep moving than to lay down.
Well, you're the first person to complete the challenge
it felt
here.
Great. And now I make this proclamation. I decided 11 hours is, I don't want to do that all the time. I want to do a 4-hour walk at least once a month, no headphones, because that was truly ideal.
That's the no headphones is the part.
Only 2 people talked to me the entire time, both old men, gray-haired like Lotharios. One was on the track at Beeman Park and just kind of kept trying to talk to me, so I left. The other one was came to his gate when he saw me walk by, said, and I quote, "You're as good looking as I am. Do you need to use my potty?" I said, no, thanks. Those are the only 2 interactions I had all day.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
All right. What I did is I did none of the sort. I was very leisurely, but I did come across a Duran Duran. I have a love-hate relationship with Duran Duran because I love the guys in Duran Duran, some of the best guys I've ever interviewed. And there's songs of theirs I like. But there's also songs of theirs I hate.
Like the hits?
This one was a hit. I came upon it listening to the 80s channel on Sirius XM on like Saturday night dance party. And I heard this song and I hadn't heard this one in a cajillion years. And I was like, I complain about Hall & Oates and Maneater. And there's many, many, many songs that irk the shit out of me. But I forgot how bad this song was. Okay. It's a non-song. It's a non-song. And it sucked. And here's what we need to learn. When everyone was, in the grips of Duran Duran mania, and I grew up in Los Angeles, so people were like dressing in pirate shirts and putting on eyeshadow and stuff. And I was like, this is junk. This is shit. This is shit. This wild, all this stuff. It's junk. And all the people with the bad haircuts and the eyeliner were trying to explain to me it was good, and I didn't know what I was talking about.
You're square.
I was a heretic.
Yeah.
And I was going, shit. So when this song came on, I said to a person, this song's fucking horrible. It's horrible. And I did what I always do, which is, I would have been thrown out of the band because I would, in 1984, if Simon Le Bon gave me the sheet to this, I would have went, I don't know what the fuck this is. And they went, it's a song called Wild Boys. Oh, I get it. It says Wild Boys 128 times. This sounds like shit.
I guess why?
I got into a band to fucking rock and to play music. And I grew up listening to like Motown and Jimi Hendrix and stuff. What the fuck is this? I would have pitched a fit and I would have said, I'm not doing it. Like I wouldn't, if somebody came up with a horrifically unfunny sketch for me to do, I would just go, I'm not doing it.
I don't put my name on this.
I would get asked to do like the teen awards and the whatever award shows and whatever. And they'd load the prompter up with just shitty, hackneyed jokes written by guys that had no business being in writers' rooms. And I'd go, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to go up there and make an asshole out of myself. So I would have definitely been thrown out of Duran Duran very early on. But the person and they do this same thing. It's going to be analogous to what's going on with COVID. Because they do this thing where they go, yeah, well, what were you listening to? And because the inference is you got sucked into it. You had the stupid Flock of Seagulls haircut. You had the fucking parachute pants.
You're the guy from Simply Red.
You were listening to that shit, too. Yeah. Don't tell me you weren't listening to that shit. And I said, fuck off. I was listening to John Hyatt. I went home and looked up. Play You May Already Be a Winner from 1983. These are the albums I bought. This is what I was listening to, assholes. I'm just saying a mighty and hearty fuck right off to all of those who try to lump me into the shit styles and your shit cocaine-driven music from the fucking 80s. I was never down with it. I was listening to John Hyatt and Graham Parker in fucking high school. I can name all the fucking records. I never got my dick sucked once because of my love of John Hyatt, because no one knew who the fuck John Hyatt was. We all had to listen to Flock of Seagulls and Duran Duran, but it was a wholesale rejection on the part of the Ace Man. Wild Boys, I labeled when I was 19 and a half as pure, unmitigated shit, and it sounds worse now. So fuck off. Thank you.
Gun to your head over and over and over and over again. No off button. Hungry Like the Wolf or Girls on Film?
I'll go Girls on Film because it had a better beginning.
Interesting.
It got out of the gate okay with the camera firing off in the background. All right. Sad news breaking. Our buddy Jay Leno has been burnt in a fire. Had to do with an automobile. At least it's on point. I mean, like when I heard, because Chris just said Jade had a serious situation, I thought, well, this guy's 73. I don't know. Is it illness or something?
That's all we knew.
Car stuff, fire, and I've said it many times. Every time I walk into Jay's shop, he's under a car, oftentimes under a steam car. I walked in once and he was underneath a steam car with a torch, with one of those butane torches used for sweating copper pipes, and a big plume of fire shot out. He like popped out and was like, oh boy. And
good thing he was wearing denim.
Yeah, so he puts himself in those situations a lot, and I guess this just got him.
Well, this wasn't steam.
No, I know the steam cars have to have a fire going, and I'm not saying he was even doing a steam car. I'm just saying because
steam burns are fucking horrific too.
Steam burns are the worst, I think, but this was fire, so we're praying for Jay. I think he'll be okay.
Yeah, this was a gas fire. He said I got some serious burns from a gasoline fire. I'm okay. Just need a week or two to get back on my feet.
He'll be very magnanimous about it. He'll blame himself, and he'll keep telling you he's okay. But also, bigger picture, Jay does a lot of stuff where he puts himself in danger. Rides a lot of motorcycles, has been in a funny car that's rolled over, we've chronicled on this show. He just does stuff. He jumps into a race car and has somebody go nuts, or he goes nuts. And so then you go, well, that's reckless or dangerous or something. And then you go, well, the dude's 73 and he's out there fucking living his life.
Yeah.
So the point is if you want to fuck around with cars and you want to race cars and you want to hop into funny cars and you want to ride motorcycles, you've definitely upped your potential for shit happening. Or you could mount the sofa with the Carollas and ride that Barca Lounger into the sunset, in which case there's not a lot of inherent danger, but you're missing a lot of upside.
Yeah.
A lot of upside. And I would argue that even though you don't wish this upon Jay Leno, a smallish price to pay over the course of a lifetime of doing what he wanted to do when he wanted to do it.
Yeah, better life.
All right. Joel Stein, our old friend and author, is going to join us. I had Chris dig up the old Man Show article he wrote when he was working for Time magazine all those years ago. He's worked for everybody, so we'll get caught up with Joel Stein. First, I'll tell you about Simply Safe over the holidays. Burglaries, package thefts, they all spike. Our friends at Simply Safe Home Security are offering 50% off their award-winning security system. Order your system for half off today and enjoy advanced security and more peace of mind this holiday season. This is a great company with a great product. We all use it here. You can put it in your apartment like Dawson, and when it comes time to be a homeowner, you pick it up and move with it, which you cannot say for traditional security systems. Named Best Home Security System 2022 by U.S. News and World Report. Third year in a row. 24/7 professional monitoring. Agents use Simply Safe's exclusive fast protection technology to capture evidence and verify that the threat is real for a faster police response. Under $1 a day and a lot cheaper than ADT. It is Simply Safe, right, Dawson?
Don't miss your chance to save big on the only security system we recommend. Get 50% off any new Simply Safe system at simplysafe.com/Adam today. This is their biggest discount of the year, so don't wait. That's simplysafe.com/Adam. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
So what I was saying about Bad Boys is...
Wild Boys?
Wild Boys. I was thinking of the Sean Penn movie. You got to stop wherever you're at, and no matter how loud society's yelling at you to get on board with things, you have to go, yeah, but this is shit. So as much as people yelled at me that masks were going to save us all, the second I saw everyone on airplanes taking them off to eat snacks, I was like, all right, that's bullshit.
We all lived.
And then everyone yelled at me for another 2 years, but I was like, it's bullshit. I saw it. I'm sitting here. This song's bullshit. That mask is bullshit. There's a lot of stuff's bullshit. Now, you're going to get yelled at during the time, and then later on, people will either accuse you of going along with it, or they'll do this thing where they'll go, well, nobody knew. Nobody knew. I got fucking ears. I listened to shit when I was 19 and a half. I was like, this sucks donkey dick. And I was out that moment. All right. Joel Stein, author and journalist, is going to join us right after this.
The Adam Carolla Show presents Joel Stein's birthday cocktail party for July 23rd. Let's see who's on the guest list. Let's welcome Baseball Hall of Fame pitcher and former LA Dodger, Don Drysdale. Legendary radio talk show host, Don Imus. The guy who performed that really stupid song called Rock On, David Essex. Hey kids, rock and roll, rock on. Guitarist from Bachman Turner Overdrive, Blair Thornton. Woody Harrelson is here. So is Martin Gore from Depeche Mode. It's Slash from Guns N' Roses. Philip Seymour Hoffman is here. The current senator from the great state of Georgia, Raphael Warnock. Alison Krauss is here. So is Monica Lewinsky, Omar Epps, Catherine Hahn, from Destiny's Child, Michelle Williams, Daniel Radcliffe, and the first drummer for the greatest band that ever existed, the precursor to Neil Peart, or Peart, whatever, from Rush, John Rutsey. Joel Stein is on the Adam Carolla Show.
Good to see you, Joel.
How weird and nice. Do you also give away my social security number and my address? Like, what else happens here?
You're getting doxxed. Story of the Week with Joel Stein, and that's a podcast, and it's out wherever you listen to finer podcasts. They choose an article that fascinates him, and then he has the writer in to tell him all about it, which makes sense.
It's like those long New Yorker articles that aren't on the news that take a long time to read and people aren't reading. We just have the writer come on and we talk it through. So you don't have to read, because reading's hard, which is why I have a podcast now.
Yeah. You don't
no one
tell
wants
Adam.
to read.
Yeah.
Well, reading is kind of stationary, and the Audible is sort of movement-based.
That's exactly right.
And
yeah.
so many people are just out and about that they're literally not
Taking
sitting
12-hour
around.
walks.
Taking
That's right.
12-hour walks.
You can't read during those.
You started with Martha Stewart back in the day?
I did. This was around the time of Wild Boys, which I think is not as bad as The Reflex.
Duran Duran has some bad ones, and we can go over those bad ones, Chris. But Wild Boys was
Worse
never
than The Reflex. Okay.
The reflex at least moves, has something, goes somewhere.
A beginning, middle, and thankfully an end.
Yes. But there is a Duran Duran song I do hate equally with Wild Boys.
Do you know what it is?
Chris will find me. All they have to do is find me the greatest hits, and
That's the reflex.
it's pretty bad. Yeah, this I do hate this song quite a bit. Yeah, it's bad.
This sounds like the music you play when you're trying to get a cult out of the house.
I do hate this song a lot.
Oh, yeah, it's a little more melodic here, though. You're right.
It's got more going on. Hungry like a wolf's bad. View to kills like fine. Yeah, there's some.
I don't mind the Vito Kill.
But the Y part is pretty grating.
You know, I grew up in the 80s in New Jersey, and it was much more homophobic than LA when you grew up. So it was not okay as a guy to say you like Duran Duran at all.
Yeah. No, that's... Yeah.
No. And I don't think we even knew why. It was just in the water. You know what I mean?
Well, nobody would come out and say they were gay back then.
Oh, no. If you asked me if I had any gay friends, we had a friend who we called Fruity, and very gay guy. Did theater, like that super gay guy. If you had asked any of us if he was gay, we'd be like, no.
Yeah,
no one in my class was gay. It turns out tons of people in my class were gay.
Yeah, well, because back then you could act gay without being gay, although I don't know if that's
I think they were
possible
gay. I think they were all gay.
Well, that's what in our minds.
Oh, yeah, no, they weren't actually. Being gay was like some leather guy in the West Village who we'd never, ever meet. They weren't in our school. It was like being in Iran today where they'll tell you no one's gay.
Right.
Yeah.
Chechnya.
Yeah. Right.
For most of the world, yeah.
Statistically, Union of the Snake, I don't like... I do hate Union of the Snake, too.
I don't know if I know Union of the Snake.
Oh, you will.
Snake.
They're sonically... They're one of these bands that sounds like... Everything sounds like it's a demo tape, but it's missing the rest of the song.
Here's all you need to know. Their wives started Juicy Couture.
What?
Right?
Really?
Yeah, I think I interviewed them at some point.
I know the girl who started Juicy.
What's her name? Her last name's like...
Janie LaPatty. Well, now we got to figure out who started Juicy. I'm going to go with my friend Janie. All right. I'm having PTSD here. So, Joel, of course, I met at the Man Show many years ago when you were writing for Time Magazine.
I was writing for Time Magazine, and Daniel Kellison asked me if I'd work for the Man Show.
Danny Two Sheets.
And he, my then living girlfriend, said, if you move to LA for this job, we won't be together.
Oh, I thought you were gay.
Yeah, everyone thought I was gay. She thinks I'm gay. Well, now I record my podcast in my closet because that's what they suggest.
Oh, yeah.
And my wife and son, very liberal, spend the entire day making homophobic jokes about me being in the closet all day.
Juicy, founded by Pamela Skase Levy and Jella Nash. Oh, she married John Taylor. Okay, so there you go. Where does Janie LaPatty factor in this? All right, so when I started the Man Show, Jimmy and I didn't know any writers. We were like kind of radio guys, and we didn't have any New York connections. And so Daniel was like, I know all these New York comedians and writers and stuff, and I'll hire these guys to move out here and fill the writer's room.
But that worked out well, right? No? I don't know.
Jimmy and I ended up writing most everything, with the exception of a few guys. It's always the writer's room it's a little microcosm of society. It's 12 guys, 2 of them are doing all the work, and the other 10 are complaining that they're not getting more, even though they're not contributing.
So I couldn't take the job, but I was out in LA because I was supposed to interview Craig Kilborn, who had taken over the late night CBS spot, and Craig, we had a date scheduled to go do this interview for Time Magazine, and he kept pushing it back. I was out there for, I think, 2 weeks or so waiting for Craig Kilborn. Well, he had promised me we'd have an interview, and they kept, he didn't cancel. He just kept pushing the date back. So I was living at the Chateau Marmont, working for you guys as a second job because who was going to catch me, taking another paycheck. And then eventually you guys did like a practice interview with Kilborn, and you took me with you guys.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
God, I don't have any recollection.
Yeah, like before his show came on, you guys did a practice interview. So I went, and that's as close as I wound up getting Kilborn. Like he was supposed to take me to like, an NC2A game because he was going to be promoting the show there. And I don't know why, he just kept blowing me off.
He was kind of famously douchey.
I didn't even get close enough to find out.
That was the rap.
I think there were tells.
Yeah,
Like pushing you off for 2 weeks.
Yeah, that wasn't great.
At least you're at the Chateau Marmont.
Oh, it was a great 2 weeks. I worked for him. I watched them like prank him with a Subway sandwich from the
Natalie Maines.
The Dixie Chicks. Yeah, you were there for that.
I was so confused because I was dressed even more dorky than this. And then all these writer guys who were like, what's up with your shoes? Like, why do you have wooden shoes?
Wooden shoes?
And I was like, because they all had sneakers and I was wearing like patent leather soles and they couldn't understand. It was like I was from a foreign nation when I arrived there.
But this is how Neanderthalish they are. They thought they were wooden shoes.
Yeah.
The wooden soles, right?
Right.
Yeah, they're dress shoes. So we were in their first bungalow there on Hollywood Center Studio, right?
Yeah.
And what are your recollections about the Dixie Chicks prank?
Well, I was aware of it before you were. So I was part of the I mean, I didn't do anything. I was just told about it as it went on.
Yeah. So what were you told initially? And this would have been in like 99, right?
That sounds right.
It was chronicled in your Time article from 99.
Oh, right.
Which would have been
So,
later
yeah, that's
99.
when it was.
So it must have been sometime in 99.
My memory is that there had been some pranking going on both sides. I think you maybe put Jimmy Kimmel's car in an ad, like a want ad to sell his car. So people were showing up at his house and calling him.
That would be probably his cousin Sal, and he was doing that a lot with Jeff Ross.
Okay.
Too. He was constantly going after Jeff Ross. But yes, Jimmy's car got put up for sale.
Yeah. So I think there was some revenge. Mm-hmm. And I think, I don't know how it started, but it started very small. Mm-hmm. Like there was some small prank played on you about Natalie Maines, and you didn't seem, to their surprise, to see through it. So they kept pushing it further and further.
They upped the ante.
And they didn't know how far it could go because they thought it was over every time.
Well, she'd set the table by asking me to the Grammys.
Well, legitimately, yes.
Yeah, so there was plausibility.
And you had a girlfriend.
Yes.
Which she probably didn't know when she asked you.
Yes. And I was like, I talked to my manager's gay assistant. I said, well, how does this work? I have a girlfriend, I'm going to the Grammys with someone. And he goes, oh, that's what people do it all the time. Like, that's how they do it.
Is that true? No.
I don't know.
You asked an assistant.
I think he
for like life advice.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't know. I didn't know anything about Hollywood etiquette. You know what I mean? And he worked for a talent management company.
But he was like 22, right?
Yeah, but there is as much downside as there may be being gay. There's a kind of a shaman-like upside where they're like, go, should I wear this shirt with these slacks? Oh, please, no, don't do it. And you'll let some 22-year-old guy go to your closet, picks up tell you what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, like what you can't do. Like if I'm at a bar, am I allowed to order a drink like for a girl? No, never. And the guy's 22 and he's an idiot. He makes $14,000 a year, but I'm hanging on every word. So he explained to me that this was totally fine and that this happens all the time in Hollywood. So
was that accurate? No, right?
I have no way of verifying.
We still don't know.
We still don't know.
Okay.
But I ended up at the Grammys with Natalie from the Dixie Chicks.
And she didn't make a move on you.
No, but they won the Grammy.
So they panned right over.
They won. Yeah, they won. New album, new artist of the year, like new whatever, 99.
And then in reality, she never contacted you again.
No, I contacted her because Jimmy and Danny and you passively were
very passive,
right, but you didn't raise your hand and object to what was going on.
True.
You didn't take a stand. You were like you weren't a Nazi, you weren't a Jew, you were just someone who was going about their way in 1939, just keeping his nose clean. The heroes of the war. So their first salvo was a bouquet of flowers.
That's right.
And the bouquet had a nice note from Natalie, like, had a great time last night. Thank you so much. And I think her phone number was on there. And as I recall, I called her and I said, got the flowers. Thank you very much. And I was driving into Loveline or something. And she said, oh, I'm in my bedroom right now and I'm watching you on MTV. And I was like, oh, she's in her panties watching me on MTV. Like, she literally said, I'm watching you as I called up. And I was like, okay, well,
Good sign.
thanks for the flowers, And she was like, you're welcome. And I was like, she didn't say I didn't send flowers. She thought her publicist. Who would deny
Right.
Yeah.
that thing?
No, that's it. Yeah.
Right. So she went, yeah, no problem. And I said, okay, well, next time you're in LA, come do the radio show or something. She's like, yeah, okay. And I hung up the phone. I remember thinking, God, she's in her bedroom watching me right now. Evidently she watched Loveline on MTV.
Lots of people did. Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
So then the next day, the giant cookie showed up, I think.
Okay, but that was only, there was another step after that.
It kept going.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There was, when the thing I remember is a giant, like one of those submarine sandwiches that take up the whole
6 foot
table.
sub showed
6
up.
foot sub, which at this point is something that a woman doesn't really send a guy she's interested in.
No. Agreed.
But you were like, oh, God damn it. How am I going to tell her I have a girlfriend? She's sending me submarine sandwiches. She's trying to get to my heart through my stomach.
Well, I thought at that point, I don't know what I was thinking, but I'll say, first off, the sub was from Giamella's. And I remember going, I love that place. How'd you know that?
Amazing.
We'd go for lunch runs there all the time. So, the other thing I should have known is all the writers who would always be talking about what they were going to do for lunch, everyone just came walking in with paper plates. Like, I was like, you guys seem poised.
There was no subtlety to this whole thing at all. I think there was no expectation that it would work.
There was a sign
Yeah.
in the sandwich that said, I will not be ignored.
What's wrong with you? You're usually so good at this.
I thought, well,
And she was insane?
no. The reason Natalie invited me to be her date for the Grammys was because I said to her, why me? Like, I like the Dixie Chicks. I've never talked to you guys. Like, I have no contact with you. Why me?
Well, you hadn't met her until the date?
No.
That's weird.
She just invited me. She wanted me to be her escort.
Has that happened to you with
Never.
anyone else?
Oh.
No.
Not
All
since?
the time.
Okay.
Just Fran Drescher. No, nobody. Nothing. And never. And she said, well, I was watching you on MTV one night, and I heard you tell a story, and it made me laugh so much that I was
wow.
in.
Wow.
I was
Okay.
in. And
so I could see why you asked the assistant to them. This is real Hollywood stuff.
so
Yeah.
I said, well, what story are you talking about? And she said, well, you said you were telling a story about driving your car, and you had a girl in the passenger seat, and she was like, you just gone out on a few dates, and you were used to being single, and you weren't thinking about it, and you let a fart go, and your hand instinctively wafted it up toward your face.
Oh, you thought you could control the air flow towards your face.
It was
away from
more.
her. That's gentlemanlike.
No, this
No.
is more reflexive.
Yeah.
Oh, you just do that whenever
Him
you
just
fart.
being a baboon.
It's like a boxer. Sometimes they're knocked out and they're knocked out. They're on the ground and their hands are still like punching. You know what I mean? Like from their back because it's just your brain. My hand. I wafted so many farts at my own face while I was driving.
Wait, so normally when you, I don't do this. Normally when you fart.
Well, that's why everyone thinks you're gay.
Normally when you fart. Normally when straight men fart. Mm-hmm. And they've got the reflex turned up as loud as possible. They take their fart and they try and smell as much of it. Is this to check for disease? Like, what are you doing?
Unclear.
Okay.
But I will.
Just
for
get
me,
to know yourself
For me,
better?
it was like when you see a dog turn in a circle 3 times and then lay down and it's on artificial sod, and you go, what? You go, that's what a dog does. That's what I did
This
with
is what all the straight men are doing this.
Well, let's see. We can get a survey. I'm saying it's like.
It's the first I've heard of
For
this.
me, it was like getting in a car and always being used to driving a manual and then getting into an automatic, and my hand just grabbed for this imaginary stick shift.
So it was the first time a woman was in your car.
It was very infrequent that they're in the car, and so I let a fart go, and my hand just moved toward my face, and the woman I was driving with. And this is the part that Natalie liked.
She didn't like the initial part?
She asked me to go with her to the Grammys based on this story. That she went, I want to be with that guy. Okay. So the woman I was with objected. She said, what are you
To
doing?
the fart or the smelling your own
the
fart?
hand
Yeah,
one.
I'm with her.
I love
I'm
that
with
we're
her.
all saying like the fart's cool, but the hand
Fart's
is
not
a bridge
great.
too far.
Yeah. So she said, what are you doing with your hand? Like, what are you going to do with your hand? And then I got really straight and I just looked at her and I go, I'm operating a motor vehicle. You want me to tuck my head between my legs? We're going 45 miles an hour. Use your brain, sweetheart. And Natalie loved that punchline or whatever it was. So I knew that Natalie had a kooky, scatological, fucked up sensibility.
Right.
Because she told me I invited you because of your fart story.
And then on the actual date, you didn't fart once?
I didn't move my hand.
Okay.
I had to physically sat on my hand at the Grammys because I was scared that I
Must have smelled that hand.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. So I got that she was a little off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, so she's off enough to send you a submarine sandwich.
I thought that was her making a joke. Like,
Right.
I thought she got caught kind of coming on to me, and I told her, hey, I got a girlfriend.
Right.
And she did it as a joke of like,
Right.
now I'm stalking you with this sub sandwich. I thought it was
You're pot committed.
I thought it was a goof.
Yeah.
It was presented to me as Adam thinks a famous, attractive woman likes him. Ha, ha, ha. That
I
can't
know.
happen.
The jokes are
Yeah.
always the lowest, whatever casts me in the
Yeah.
worst light possible.
Yeah, that's how
but
I was.
This is not that. This is her stalking me.
They never told me about
and
not to
asking
defend my
me-
Nazi collaboration, but they never
This is
told
worse,
me
but go
about
ahead.
they
Yes.
never told me about the fart wafting story.
Of course. Well, first
Yeah.
off, what do you think? So I'm just sitting around and, oh, this is a pie from Gina Lollobrigida. Oh, she must love me. Oh, I'm getting my dick sucked tonight by guess who? Gina Lollobrigida. Like Anne Margaret's come in. She's brought you flip flops. Like
You're not 90. What are these? These are references before you were
good.
born.
Pansy
big names
Dickinson.
from my past. My point is no, I didn't think random famous hot women
Okay.
liked me. It
All
was
right.
based on her asking me out.
Right.
Refresh our memory. What was the final straw for either of you?
I mean, there was
We
a submarine
got
sandwich, right?
Well, no, there was something
no.
after
Oh,
the
no.
submarine sandwich. That was the lingerie. That was the panties.
Oh, I think I was there for that too.
That was the panties in a box.
And then, what made you clue into the fact that that wasn't hers?
Nothing.
Oh, they just ran out of
They
ideas.
couldn't take it anymore.
They borrowed panties from a receptionist.
They couldn't sport like $7 and buy like.
Well, was that part of it?
Oh,
You know what
I
I
think
mean?
you're right. The man show
Yeah.
was a little. I
Yeah.
remember I got to the man
No,
show.
but the note said we need to fuck now, and you need to call me, and that's when Jimmy encouraged me to call her.
And then you said this has to end. Or what?
Yeah, that's when I called her.
And at what point did she say, you're crazy?
It unraveled sort of item by item. She was at a pottery barn with her mom when she picked up the phone. That much I
Lives of
remember.
celebrities.
I know.
And so at some point, and what did you feel as you're figuring this out?
Well, I was figuring it out as it was going, and then and I started to sort of look up, and I started to notice that the writers had filed into the room,
sure.
and that
Yeah.
Jimmy was standing on his desk filming me with a camcorder, and
That was the clue.
That's when it started to dawn.
And have you
on
talked to Natalie since then?
Yeah, she came on. She came on Loveline 6 months later and brought like a 6 foot subset.
Oh,
I
that's
see.
good.
That's
yeah,
that's
so
great.
that's her. She got
Yeah.
that sense of humor.
So when you realized on the phone that this was all a sham, did you double down and go, I knew that? Or did you go, oh boy, do I have egg on my face?
I was trying so hard to process all that was going on over the past several days and weeks that I wasn't fully able to process it in real time. So I was having difficulty expressing myself. I was very confused.
All the better for Jimmy's tape.
Oh yeah. But
Joel, I love that you were there for this.
This is the kind of
Corroborating everything.
This is the kind of thing we cover every week on Story of the Week. We take a story like this, we get the person who reported it to break it down, and I ask annoying questions.
what are some of the stories you cover?
Next week, we have this story from Los Angeles Magazine that's, do you know about this group called The Order? They're this Mormon sect that's super racist, polygamist. And
They're not the ones living in Mexico, are they?
No, this is a different one. They're in Utah, but on the border of Idaho. And they kind of run this incredible, their main thing is government fraud, mostly welfare scams. And there's one really smart guy in the order. I'm sure there's plenty, but this guy got a chemical engineering PhD from the University of Utah, started making biofuel, but then figured out that there was these government subsidies at like $1 a gallon for biofuel. And so he started pretending to move biofuel around the country and getting $1 per gallon. And then he hooks up with the guy who runs the Armenian Mafia in Glendale.
Oh, yeah.
This guy, the Lion.
Well, no, I know this story because Mark Garagos.
Oh, yeah, he's defending the
is
Lion.
defending the
Yes.
Lion.
Oh,
yeah.
boy.
Yeah, all you have to be is Armenian and
Come to the
Garagos
rescue.
will come swinging in like Tarzan with a briefcase.
And the story gets crazier and crazier. Like the dirty FBI guys who are supposed to be in Homeland Security instead are letting in criminals into this country. But the best part is at the end, when the Armenian Mafia guy and the Mormon Mafia guy, the Mormon biofuel guy, are in jail together. And it turns out the Mormon guy's third wife has the hots for the Armenian mob guy. And so she starts visiting him instead.
Sending him sub sandwiches and whatnot.
Exactly.
Dirty underwear.
And you don't like 1/3 cuckold a guy. So he
Yeah.
got really upset and turned on the Armenian guy.
Wow.
Yeah. But there's like 10 twists like that in the story.
Yeah, I just know bits and pieces of the story from talking of Garagos about
It's a crazy
it.
story. Yeah, but it's so easy to find these crazy stories no one's reading because they're long.
Right.
They take like 6 months to report and they're full of detail. And we simplify them a little bit and tell them in like a half hour.
Is there a business to be a reporter for Time Magazine anymore? I mean, it used to be a career, and I feel like
That's what I felt like. I felt like I write, and I feel like it's the equivalent of, I don't know, writing, being an epic poet. You know, like no one wants to read anymore. So there's not as much of a career as there used to be.
Is it, by the way, at a relaxed pace, you should be able to cover 24 miles in 12 hours.
Okay, well, I did 11 hours. So I'll take that as a win.
How many miles did you do?
But almost 21.
Wow.
Thank you.
No, I didn't congratulate you.
God damn it.
Yeah, I mean, are people like heading over to Substack and places like that? Or,
Yeah, but Substack is just people yelling about politics. We are not doing like the news or politics. We're doing like
Substack is mostly or almost all
I don't
political.
know. I don't know. It's all kinds of things. I'm sure if you're really into cars, there's car Substack. I'm guessing. I don't really know. That seemed to have faded Substack.
But in general, that profession of a reporter isn't what it was.
it's a smaller field. You know, the New Yorker still comes out. There's other magazines that still come out, but yeah, there's fewer outlets than there used to be for sure.
Well, and certainly for what you're talking about, like these kind of longer think pieces as
Yeah.
opposed to like clickbait, headline,
Well,
click.
we're not doing any think pieces. We're just
Right.
doing like super, like we did a story about the guy who's like the guy you go to in Mexico, this doctor who became a crack addict and then cured himself by smoking toad.
Oh,
and then
shit.
and then he gave like a TEDx talk at Burning Man about smoking toad, which sounds like a fake sentence about liberals, but he
What's
then,
toad?
have you ever seen there's a great clip of Mike Tyson talking about smoking toad on Joe Rogan because it really changed his life. It's a hallucinogenic drug that you get these Sonoran desert toads.
An actual toad.
Yeah,
toad.
yeah. And they're actually somewhat in trouble now because they're being harvested. But you grab these toads at night when they come out in Sonora and maybe New Mexico or somewhere close to the border, and you pop their little
Gland.
those bumpy parts on the skin, and you pop them like zits onto a piece of glass, and you dry the zit cream, and then you crystallize it and smoke it. And it's a super, like the Michael Pollan book where he talks about all the hallucinogenic drugs he does. That's the one that freaked him out the most. That's like the Mount Everest of hallucinogens. It's super short. It's like 10 to 15 minutes, but it's pretty much ego dissolving. You just physically collapse on the ground and you're just at one with nothingness.
Do you think, because everyone's talking about microdosing and
Yeah.
shrooms, and we want to make shrooms legal in Oregon and all
Do you get
this
invited?
kind of
I've been
stuff.
invited to shroom parties. I thought it was a normal party, and then like a few days before, like, we just want to talk to you before you come out about what we're going to be doing. I'm like, oh, okay, it's just a party. And then I found out, oh, it's a shroom party.
Oh, really? No,
Yeah.
I've not. But do you guys? Here's my hypotheses, which I've never really thought about, which is this is all the rage. And back when times were simpler, back before the earbuds and the pods, and people walked and they were sort of in nature all the time, and they had these like. I was watching this show on, I don't know what it was on. It was maybe Netflix over the weekend, but it was Survive or Alone or whatever. They take a bunch of different people, maybe like 5 people. They just drop them off on some island in British Columbia next to a lake or a river. And you get some fishing string and a flare, and you're just at it. You're just on. And then whoever makes it the most days. Yeah, Alone.
Wasn't this what
It's on
Survivor was supposed to
Netflix.
be?
Yeah.
But
it wasn't.
everyone's
Okay.
broken off. There's no tribe.
Is anyone naked or afraid?
No one's naked, but everyone's afraid because there's like grizzly bears and stuff. And then you watch these people. It's like, well, they build a shelter. It's like the first thing they do, and then they just get up in the morning. And they go, today I'm going to collect a bunch of river rocks, and I'm going to try to put a fireplace in my shelter, and that's what I got to do today. And they make fish traps and they make snares for rabbits. And all they have to do the entire day is go check the snares, get a rabbit, clean the rabbit. Now I got to make rabbit jerky, so I'm going to try to smoke the rabbit. That's all. And in nature. And that's it. That's all they do. There's no texting. There's no arguing. There's no horns honking. There's no backup beepers. There's no politicians arguing or whatever. And I realized, okay, this is what we're supposed to be. This is kind of where we're supposed to be, or some version of it, closer to it. Now everyone's just being inundated with everything all the time. It's just this montage of craziness. And I think people are moving toward these hallucinogens to make it stop. And that's why they say, I took it and it changed my whatever, because you got off this merry-go-round. So we weren't meant for this life this fast.
It's like a factory reset.
Yes.
I think there's probably 2 different parts going on. One is if you look at the 50s when people started getting into LSD, which were mostly like conservative Henry Luce kind of Manhattanites, Aldous Huxley, they weren't trying to escape something. They were trying to dissolve their ego to have a new perspective. The same way when you meditate, you get outside of yourself and it gives you a new perspective and you realize that other things exist in the world and you're just part of it. Separately, I think people become anxious. I know people become more anxious and depressed when they're not physically social with each other. And this might be a way of trying to make, as meditation is similarly a way to make some of that pain and anxiety go away. But another way is just to hang out with people. Maybe a different way. Not they don't do exactly the same.
But
thing.
a lot of it is trying to reset themselves, right? Because not everyone's doing it. I'm not talking about a party. I'm just talking about the people that are.
No. But I think part of why they want to reset themselves is if you look at suicide rates, which is a really good way to measure anxiety and depression, they're crazy in Western advanced cultures, right? Partly, I think, ever since TVs came out, people started spending a lot more time with their family in their house. So there's some good with that, obviously. Like you spend more time with your kids, but people stopped going to the bar and the Elks Club, and this is more men, but people stopped socializing in the same way, and they're just in their house all the time. And I think that's messing with your anxiety levels.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is the cure for that, but it is like a way to get out of your own head, which you can get really into if you're on your phone all day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think the moral of today's show is you got to get out of your routine a little bit. You can't.
You got to hang out with people.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry.
I mean, the fact that I was coming here today, people were like, "You're not Zooming
Yeah.
the podcast?" I'm like, I hope not.
No, you're right. There's 2 things. You need to be with people. I was talking to this life coach, doctor, PhD, whatever, and this the other day on my Take a Knee podcast, and he said, it turns out drinking is good for you. And I said, oh, please, drinking good for you. And he said, well, not the drinking part, the part where you're with people. Socializing and drinking. And I said to him, wow, that's really weird because the thing that I look forward to when I circle something on the calendar these days is Sunday football with the boys. It's Cousin Sal and Kevin Hench and all those guys from the Man Show and everything. And we're all getting together and most of us are drinking beers. And I go, it's like I crave it. It's weird, but I feel guilty because it's such a waste of time. It's like, it's literally an entire day. I bring my son with me now and blah, blah, blah. We ride the electric bikes there. We, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, I do feel kind of like an asshole because it's like day lost. Like all I'm doing is sitting there eating pizza, drinking beer, laughing it up. And he goes, no, you crave that because it's so important. Yeah. Like you need it. And I'm like, it is weird. I need it. I feel like I need it, but I feel stupid because I'm just sitting around getting drunk with my friends.
This drive to productivity is also messed up. It's not like we're skinning a rabbit and building a shelter that we need tonight. Like you've got plenty of money. And you're also, no offense, not saving lives, right?
Yes.
Like the fact that you're not productive for a day is not a huge loss.
No, it's probably a net gain for society. Keep that guy away from a microphone.
But you know what I mean? It's okay for you to like.
It is.
Yeah.
I would not give myself permission to do it.
But it's weird.
I gave myself permission to do it because I do it. But what I mean is
to feel good about it.
I beat myself up because I'm like, you're sitting around on your ass.
You should be making a podcast. Like, what is the alternative that you think is like?
It was like you should be getting exercise, or you should be fixing something a picture that needs to be hung. You should have hung it.
If you look at the rates of how long you're going to live, like exercise is very important. Diet's very important. Socialization is almost equally important.
That's the thing. And that's why he was like, booze is good for you because you all get together and consume it in a group and you all laugh together and whatever. And I was like, good. Never thought of it that way. But also then I think the moral of the story is, Chris, do you have one of those water foil things? Is Dunham here? No,
not yet.
Oh, okay. So I walk. Well, okay. So both ends of the spectrum. Then I think the good news is, or what we can glean from this is, go out and take a 12-hour walk alone without your earbuds in and see where your mind goes, and then get together with people, socialize, have a drink, and have a laugh. Like it's kind of both,
But it's interesting. 12 hours. Alone, this is almost like a silent meditation. I know you're going to see a bunch of stuff and walk by things, but mostly you're going to be alone.
Yes.
And one of the most painful things you can do to a human being is lock them in isolation.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
right?
I completely agree. I think what I'm talking about is kind of diversity. What I'm saying is after 7 hours of drinking beer and laughing with dudes, then I need a long walk the following morning in nature minus the beer. You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm sort of saying. Like I got up this morning. I was in Malibu this morning, and I just got up and I said, I'm going in the ocean just alone. I'm just going to walk. It's cold.
That's what he likes about it.
But it's good. It's good for you.
Polar bear club.
And there's not another human being.
I know he likes that.
There's not another human being in the ocean. There was nobody. There's nobody anywhere. And I just walked down there and just floated in the ocean this morning. And when I was walking out, I found one guy. There was one guy, and he had one of those foil boards, those electric ski water foil boards, the ones that
those are cool.
Ones that come up on
Danny
the whatever.
McBride in
You kind of like bounce on it.
Yeah, and I was like, when we talked, we like stopped and talked, and I talked battery life and blah blah blah, and I was like, where are you going with this thing? And he's like, I go all the way down to like the colonies, down to Zuma and stuff, and I turn around. And so then the question is this guy better alone, or is this a group activity? Like, I think in his head and in my head, I'm going to float in the ocean alone.
No,
I would have done it with somebody if they wanted to, but it's not a lot of takers. The water's too cold. But this guy's just going off. It was Monday morning, just by his lonesome. I'm going to sit on this foil board, and I'm just going for a trek down the coast with the wind in my hair.
Yeah, without a screen. That's the important
without
part.
anything. And And I thought, God bless you. And then
Yeah.
what you should do is get together with friends tonight and talk about it.
Yeah, no, you need all of that, right?
Right.
You need to see what's in your head.
Right. And
Yeah.
I don't think it's one or the other. I think it's all the above.
I did this thing for GQ years ago where I got in really, really good shape with the trainer, the guy who trains a lot of the actors for superhero movies, this guy Harley Pasternak. And he had a list of things I had to do every day. So what I had to eat, what I had to have my workout. It was also 12,000 steps, but it was also an hour a day, like without screens alone, kind of just walking outside, being in nature.
That was part of it.
Yeah, it made a difference.
Really?
Yeah.
What did it do for you?
It just lowered your stress, anxiety. I don't know the hormonal part of it, but it just like reset you, like you said.
Well, if people want to know if you're kind of stressed out, we're all stressed out, go for a long walk and don't bring your phone.
Yeah. Well, I did that in my neighborhood. So I did this thing where I went to, for an article, I went to up near Microsoft in Redmond, and there was a rehab facility for dudes who were addicted to the internet or addicted to being online, which sounds fake and sounds stupid until I got there. And it was all, I thought it was gonna be like porn and stuff like that. It was all video game guys. They're all in their early 20s. They all had they'd gone to Emory and been on the soccer team. They all had these kind of successful lives until they got addicted to like World of Warcraft or whatever was big then. And then they were just like wearing diapers on a couch, alone, having to fulfill their mission and getting Mountain Dew and Domino's sent into their apartment.
Right.
Their lives had totally fallen apart. So I wasn't allowed to have a phone for 3 days when I was up there, and it totally changed my attitude towards my phone. So I was like, I'm not going to carry my phone around. I'm going for a walk in my neighborhood without a phone. I proceeded within 20 minutes completely lost in my own neighborhood and had to find my way home, which was really pathetic. And I eventually realized I was near a friend's house, went to his doorbell, pressed the ring button, and his nanny didn't know who I was and wouldn't let me in. Had to walk to a Gelson's supermarket and ask if I could borrow the phone and call my wife.
Wow.
Yeah, and just to tell her, I know where I am now, but I've been gone for a few hours for a reason.
The nanny probably saw the guy in the wingtip shoes with the wooden soles and was like, I don't trust this guy.
He's probably trying to sell me something.
Selling Fuller brushes.
That's right.
Joel Stein, everyone. Story of the week with Joel Stein, and you can find it wherever you listen to finer podcasts, and you can check out his website as well, thejoelstein.com as well, and you shoot him a tweet at thejoelstein as well. Jeff Dunham, one of the nicest guys in comedy, is going to join us in a moment.
Will he be here physically?
He's physically here today.
Does he bring the puppets?
Well,
find
you
out.
can step
Oh my
out and
God.
ask him yourself.
This is exciting.
We'll do that right after this.
It's time to check Adam's voicemail.
Ace Man, speaking of the song Can't Turn You Loose, there's that scene in the Blues Brothers where the guys are sitting in the sauna with the booking agent, and he asks them, what's up with the suits? Don't you guys ever wear blue jeans or jumpsuits like Wayne Cochran and the CC Riders? So, hey, there's even a tip of the hat in the movie. Get it on.
You can leave us a message at 888-634-1744.
That's right. Forgot. The reference there. We don't go all over the road. Jeff Dunham is here, comedian, ventriloquist, got a comedy special. It's coming out November 25th on Comedy Central called Me the People. He's on a national tour and dates. Oh, it kicks off. The tour hasn't kicked off yet, Jeff?
No, I'm doing the other tour. And then the new tour starts out after the special after Christmas.
How many dates a year are you playing?
I guess I don't know what it is. So 10 a month? I can't do that math.
10?
It's 120, 130, something like that.
Is it tour buses a lot of fun?
Yeah, it's a fly to that region. The tour bus picks you up, and then every show is within 7 hours of the other one. So
Right.
it's rock and roll. It's great. And I got two big rigs. I got a crew of 12 guys, two tour buses, one mine, one theirs, and it is like it's a rock and roll puppet show.
What do you need the two big rigs for?
Because we carry all our own lights, sound, because we're doing arenas, so we carry our lights, our sound, our staging, all that stuff.
Wow, it's so big. It's so impressive.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, but it's like you look at a straight stand-up guy, he just walks on stage and tells jokes, and so I got little cases with characters in it. But then again, that's not what's in the trucks. So
Right.
I think it's I like it because it's my own crew, it's my own guys, it's my guys running sound, doing lights and everything, so they know what's going on. Versus when you go do a theater, it's all their thing.
Right.
And so with this production value is,
Is it? It didn't used to be this way for comedians per se. I can't speak for ventriloquists, but this was rock and roll. Now, like we talked to Gabriel Iglesias in here talking about playing Dodger stadiums. Like he's got
that's nuts. That dude, I don't know how he makes any money. Can you imagine what the cost is? And he has like 40 people. I got 12 crew guys. He has like 50.
He's got like 8 semi trucks. 3 of them are just filled with merch. Like
and he's got people out the wazoo and however many opening acts, and it's like, what's going on? It's just I don't have an opening act. I was so cheap. I'm like, forget it. I'll be my own opening act.
Yeah. So you'll MC, you'll feature, and you'll close it.
That's right. Who cares?
How much time do you do?
It's about 2:10, 2:15.
Oh, so that's a lot of act.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about this before. I built my act coming up in the comedy clubs, trying to get on Carson. Mm-hmm. And so we've talked about this. If you put a stopwatch on a guy on a late night talk show, a stand-up, if he has a laugh every 10 seconds, 6 to 10 seconds, he's doing great. You got guys doing 20-second and 30-second setups, and you're getting 3 laughs a minute, you're dying. The audience is getting nervous, and you're not doing well. Mm-hmm. Unless you're a storyteller like Cosby or whoever,
right.
Then you're okay. But so I built my act back in the 20 years of doing comedy clubs by trying to build the a laugh every 6 seconds. And so that's how my act was made, and that's how I write now. Mm-hmm. So when I do 2 hours and 15 minutes, it's usually 6 laughs a minute.
Do you have to use a prompter or something to remind you where the hell you are?
Because
2 hours and 10 minutes long?
Sure, because with my voice, that's me constantly talking for 2 hours plus. So it's like a singer. I can't, you got to rest your voice. And so people think, the road is glamorous. No, it's not. I get off the bus. They've set up everything. It's taken them all day long. I go in, I set up the characters. We do a sound check. I walk back off stage. An hour later, I go back on. I do 2 hours plus, walk off the stage, back onto the bus, and I don't talk to anybody for 21 hours.
Right, because you have to rest your voice.
Yeah, I don't see a human being. I don't get on the phone. I don't do anything. So it's, it's work.
And you're kind of a mechanical guy, right? You build all the puppets, right?
Yeah, I build all the characters, all the dummies. Yeah, and I have a workshop on the bus. So if in case anything goes wrong, yeah.
Oh, so you can fix it.
Surgery.
Yeah. But what's great is honestly, like Ahmed, the dead terrorist, I've had him in the act since 2007, and I've yet to be able to have to open up the head and repair something. So it's like, So I have other hobbies. I build stuff, and it's stupid.
What is the latest with you and Bill? I know you're a car guy. I know you love the cars.
Yep.
Tragically, Leno. I don't know if you talked to Leno.
I haven't. Have you talked to him yet?
No, I just heard it on the way in. I figure he's convalescing somewhere.
I talked to one of his guys, and I said, "Is he okay?" And the reply was, "He will be."
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if
someone like Bernard or one of his guys.
one of those guys. Yeah, and so I don't know if that means he said, "Wait till tomorrow, then send him a note. He'll be all right."
Okay.
And he's talked to him and he says, okay, so I don't know. I don't understand. Was it a steam car that blew up and then caught fire? Is that what it was?
We don't know.
All we know is it was a gasoline fire.
Oh, that's terrifying.
What do you got lately? What are you messing around with? Do you have an electric Hummer?
Yeah, that's
you brought it?
Yeah, I love that thing.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you know why I love that? There they are. Yeah, that picture. So that's a real Hummer from from the Schwarzenegger days, and that's a '99, and then that's the brand new one, the 22. And I guess they'd be pumping them out right now, but of course they can't because of supply.
Yeah.
That's a beast.
Oh, it's great, and it's 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, and it weighs 10,000 pounds. How the hell? It really confuses people when something that giant beats the living. It'll keep up with some Teslas, so it's great.
3 seconds 0 to 60 is devastating. That's supercar. It was where hypercars were 10 years ago, let's say. It's super quick.
But don't you think it's 0 to 60 is going to be who cares now?
I kind of think top speed will be who cares.
Yeah, right.
0 to 60 is where all the fun happens and all the experiences. It's sort of the takeoff in a commercial airliner versus cruising.
Right.
cruising altitude, but it'll go the way of the dodo in the sense that if anyone in an electric car, mom, grocery getter, driving a Tesla, that's all sub 4 seconds, 0 to 60, then it doesn't mean anything
It'll
anymore.
be that you can buy a 0 to 60 in 3 second car for $25,000.
Yeah, like a Nissan Leaf.
And then nobody's going to care.
Right.
All the fun's gone.
What else do you got added new in your collection? I know you got some
the new Z.
Batmobiles.
I got the new Z.
We got the new Z.
Yeah, it's great. Got the limited one, the yellow one. They did a great job because my very first card that the dummies paid for was an 84 300ZX. And so that was when I was in college, and I actually got a license plate in Texas, and it was dummy.
Yeah, that's funny.
They earned it.
I earned it. That's right. It was the first thing that they paid for, and I still have it too. So it's great.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff, it's kind of crazy. I've said it before, but like when I wrote my first book and I would look at see how sales on Amazon were doing or something, it was always Jeff Dunham. Jeff Dunham was always at the top of the charts. It's an incredible. I mean, playing arenas.
Well, it's just a base of fans, and that come around to the subject of comedy, and it's I know you've talked about it a bunch, but it's so difficult. I would not want to be a guy coming up right now.
Too fractured.
No.
Everyone too many different camps, or what?
Well, the way I'm handling it now is I'm trying to go back to what it used to be, starting with Will Rogers and Bob Hope and Carson and Leno, where you didn't know what their politics were. And they made fun of both sides evenly.
Right.
And it was okay. But the difference is, I think, between them and now, is I think most comedians, as you know, pick a side, and then they start pissing everybody off, and they start being nasty and doing mean jokes and calling names. That's not comedy. That's a pep rally.
Yeah.
So I try and come up with stuff that's funny, and I'm no Dennis Miller. You don't have to be a Rhodes Scholar to get my show. So it's just goofy, dumb, stupid fun, and but they sit there for 2.5 hours, and they keep coming back.
Yeah, what people don't realize is most of this country is somewhere in the middle. They don't want to be preached at. They want to have a laugh. They don't need. So it's always weird when comedians are, prompting things. Even stuff like I don't even like the vote stuff. Just leave them alone.
Right.
They'll vote or they won't vote. That's not your job to tell jokes.
Yeah.
It's weird to get that involved with it. But it is interesting that the comedians can really drive the culture, and that's much more effectively, one quip that Jon Stewart makes that really hits the nail on the head is so much more effective than 1,000 politicians talking for 1,000 hours.
Sure.
And people then understand that. And it's like Dave Chappelle was doing SNL last weekend, and he did this 1.5-minute thing about who Trump was. And it makes a difference to a lot of people because he speaks for so many people. And it's sad that comedians have to take sides or speak for groups or whatever it is. I don't even really I never liked it when fat comedians just did fat jokes. I'm like, diversify a little bit. You know what I mean?
We get it.
I don't like when black comedians do black, just everything's about being black. Or whatever. Tall. It could be anything.
Sure.
Single ladies. Whatever your thing is. I never
Whatever your hook is.
Whatever your hook is.
Yeah. But you got to do a little bit of that because a good portion of the audience is there because they are what you are.
Yeah, well, I think the luxury of being a heterosexual white dude is there's no real hook. So
that's
Tell
right.
Jeff.
Yeah.
That's the advantage.
Let me tell you, you don't understand what it's like, dude.
I know. It's tough.
Your
One day I'll-
T-shirt with your Nissan Pathfinder, your 91.
I wore this. My son, I have twin boys that are 7 years old. And we're going through the warehouse the other day, and he points to the 87. The 87 was the first year for the Pathfinder, and I had one in college. It was great.
Yes.
And we're walking by it, and he points to the Pathfinder, and he goes, "Where's the red one?" And I said, "What?" His kid's 7 years old. He goes, we had a red one. Where is it? And I go, we sold it 3.5 years ago.
Oh, he's in.
Oh man, I'm like, how the heck? That was half of your life ago. How do you even know that? So yeah, he's got it bad.
He's got it bad.
Yeah.
So you got Batmobiles, we got Hummers.
Well, you used to make fun of me for the Ford GT for being purple. You said I was gay for having a purple Ford GT.
I implied it. I don't think I said
now
it.
you said it out loud.
Well, it's because I meant it.
Okay. And there's nothing wrong with being gay and having a purple
No.
Ford GT. Right. But I noticed that there was who did the, it was
Ray Hall.
Bo himself at Galpin Ford.
Bo Bachman.
He's got a fuchsia one. And it's awesome looking. I'm sorry, but I think it looks great.
He's like if Liberace wasn't gay and into cars.
that's
who Bo
badass.
Bachman would be.
See, look at that. No,
That's-
wait. Is that his?
I just put the purple in.
Oh, that's
But
that's
you-
my purple. But
you-
look up BEAU Ford GT.
You ordered yours in purple,
Yeah, it's the one of one.
one of one,
Yeah.
except for
There's one other guy
Ray Hall.
with a lighter colored purple.
Yeah.
Less effeminate. Mine is. His was more.
So
See, anyway,
is there an evolution for you in cars? Are you getting into some vintage stuff, or is it all just
no, it's a
whatever's
mishmash.
kooky?
We're finishing in a warehouse that we've been working on for 6 years. Red tape with the city and the whole deal. And we finally
What?
finishing. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
We
Finally-
get into that quite often.
Yeah, finally finishing construction on it, but it's a mishmash of everything. I mean, name it. There's a handful of supercars. There's a bunch of classic cars. The muscle stuff. 57. I finally got a 57 Chevy, and it's all original. Except, a handful of parts have been replaced, but, same paint job and the whole thing. And I love that. But at the same time, there's you know what a LaFemme is?
No.
The LaFemme, that was the Dodge LaFemme, and it was, Leno describes it as a car for women. This is the reason it failed. It was a car for women designed by men.
Wow.
Yeah. And you couldn't do it today. It's pink. It has a pink inside. It came with a rain bonnet, a pink rain bonnet, a pink raincoat.
It's like a Mary Kay car.
Yeah. But it's there it is right there.
I mean, it is really pretty.
Yeah. And it came with a purse and a little pocketbook and the whole thing, all the accessories for a woman. And it's I bought it and gave it to my wife. So the only difference is it's in my warehouse, but it has her name on the title.
It's so funny that guys would ever think that women would want a nice car, but we don't want a purse made by Dodge. That's not really the design we're going for.
It was actually apparently a really a designer maker that I can't remember what it is, but yeah, I've got the whole setup in the trunk.
Wow.
It's ridiculous.
Where did you find this car?
I heard about it and then started looking for it, and to find one is not easy. But yeah, it's ridiculous.
I take it back. This purse is fucking awesome.
That's not it.
Oh, damn it.
So, no, it's old and tired. It looked like something your grandma would wear or take, maybe. I'm not sure. So, yeah, the Dodge LaFemme. There, I think is that it?
Oh, there.
No,
Yeah.
I don't know what
The
that
pink lady's car, the original pink lady's car, it says complete with a lipstick holder and pink umbrella.
Oh, yeah, it has an umbrella or parasol, as you used to say.
It's weird. Rolls-Royce got a ton of mileage out of putting an umbrella in the door, like 7 years ago. It was
I
a
remember
big
that, yeah,
deal.
yeah.
Like, it's in the door, and it's like, yeah, technologically.
Well, it's like the windshield wipers on the headlights. Come on.
Yes.
Wait, do you have any cars like that?
No, but I will tell you this. In the 80s, there was a lot of like cool Euro Mercedes and stuff, and they had windshield wipers on the headlights.
Yeah.
And you'd see people, going around West LA and Beverly Hills in the cool loaded Mercedes, and I would always make fun of those guys and go, "The fuck needs windshield wipers on your headlights?" And no one needs it, but somebody explained to me that when it snows a lot in Germany and the snow is gathering on the headlights at night, then you would want those. So that is something where I would definitely make fun of that asshole driving around Beverly Hills or Santa Monica, but
It started with a purpose.
well, also you have to culturally understand, like Germans don't make spinners for their rims. Germans don't make fake hood scoops. They don't make tails. And
Really? There's no fun stuff over there like that?
no,
Efficiency.
it's all business over there. So if something comes out of Germany and you're like, what are those jackoffs up to now? that they did because you're driving through Bavaria and there's a snowstorm, and then we buy them and drive them around Beverly Hills.
Well, now I'm really happy I came here. I've actually learned something that I
Yes.
had no idea. Because I've never figured out why the hell would they do that. But that makes perfect sense. All right, I get it. Well, we don't have snow, so we don't know.
Yeah, I agree, but I'm with you. My comedic mind was immediately attacking and assaulting the nature of any human who would drive around Southern California with a car that had windshield wipers on the headlights, but the origins come from somewhere.
Let me ask you a question. I have not gone through this thoroughly, but do you think comedy is always, I think I heard you say this, is always making fun or putting down something or somebody? Can it be simplified that much?
Well, it's always easier comedically. Like if you listen to morning show jocks who aren't particularly funny, and then they have 4 hours to kill every day, and then somebody brings up a movie, like a popular movie, both guys will go, lame, so lame, dude, that's so lame. Because in a world where you don't have any interesting critiques or takes or hot takes or turns of phrases or whatever, just going bad, negative, it's a safer bet. And it's also the kind of thing where I would explain to people all the time when they took umbrage with things that I've said. I said, look, when you're up on stage and somebody says, and you go, give me a word, a suggestion, whatever, and they go, your mother-in-law. You can't go, oh, Shelley, she's a delight. You have to go, that old bag of wind. I hope she dies soon so I can get her condo in Pacific Grove, and then they'll laugh.
And then hopefully that also goes into an actual joke that's not just a recognition of something we all can identify with.
Right, but then someone may say to your mother-in-law, listen to what Adam had to say about you. And I'm trying to explain to people that supportive and praise and that kind of stuff, it doesn't really comedically work usually.
So that's the minefield that we have to tiptoe through these days, is what is it that we can make fun of that is okay to make fun of that won't tick off 90% of the crowd. To me, I've always said if I'm pissing off 2 to 5% of the crowd, I'm probably right where I should be.
Well, I think that, it's kind of interesting. I've done jokes where I've said, like, I've gone out on the road and went like, I can't do these jokes in L.A. And they're already into it.
Right.
They want the jokes. They want the forbidden fruit jokes that I can't do. And then they'll always laugh. Sometimes I just say, look, you're going to think this joke is horrible and harsh, but I'm doing it anyway.
Right.
And sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. But there is a kind of a leveling with them that works. Like if you just go, I'll do this joke. I know it's going to get a groan. It's going to piss people off, or I can't do it in L.A., but here it is. They'll kind of go along with you on that ride.
Well, see, that's why, the Comedy Central special, that's what I do. I work for 18 months, and then that's basically rehearsal for taping the next special, right? Then we tape now that's 2 hours and 15 minutes, edited down to an hour special, which is 42 minutes of programming. So what I love is when a special comes out, then I get to go out and say, okay, what you guys are going to hear in this live show tonight is the stuff that Comedy Central wouldn't let me put on the air.
Oh.
Yes.
And then they're like,
Yes.
which is true. There's a lot of the stuff that I didn't want because it wasn't as funny, but there's a lot of stuff that they said, no, you can't do that.
No, I would tell a joke where I said, I did the Alec Baldwin roast on Comedy Central. This was the first joke I did. They cut it. Comedy Central cut it. But
Please tell it.
They can't cut it here tonight. And I will. And
it's chef's kiss. It's great.
I don't know. It may be a little blue for Mr. Dunham.
yeah.
I know. Do it. Let's hear it.
Put it behind the paywall.
Maybe I won't get it.
Oh, if you don't get it, that's good. That's probably good. Let's see.
Do you remember it?
Yes.
I remember it.
Well, let's see. Who was I talking about from Will and Grace?
Sean Hayes.
Oh, Sean Hayes was the roast master.
Right.
And Sean Hayes, the joke goes, Sean Hayes is the roast master, so when Sean Hayes has to bring me up, and of course he calls me racist and homophobic and misogynistic. And
Wow, that's all the ones that get me too.
Yes, and it's true. It's true, but it still hurts to have to hear it before I come up. And so I came up, and the first joke that I said that they cut is I said, Sean Hayes Will and Grace is back on the air. So, Sean, it's quite a comeback. Incidentally, comeback was Sean's nickname in high school. Because that's where the lacrosse team would finish.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I get why they cut it.
Oh.
And then it would go on. I would go on for a while, and I'd go, I had to watch that special with my young son. And at some point, he looked at me, and he said, Papa, where are the cum jokes? And I said, I know. Life isn't fair. Get used to it.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I think they had an easier time making the decision on what to cut from your act than they did from mine.
It was more linear.
I've never done a
You
cum
had an
joke.
embarrassment of riches, I'm sure, that they had to take a scalpel to.
Oh, man. All right, fine.
I do get curious about Ahmed and things like that when it's like nobody's cheering for that character, yet are people offended by it?
Oh, I see. I love this subject because they do they do cheer for him. They love him. I did the world tour in 2016. It was another Comedy Central special. Jeff Dunham was all over the map. And we went to, everywhere, from starting in Canada and Iceland down to South Africa and Australia and Singapore and the Middle East and Europe, all over the UK. And, people ask me today, oh, the Muslims are upset by it. No. Okay, really? All right, let me show you this from the special a few years ago. And there we were in the middle of Abu Dhabi, and 4,000 Muslims. The men were in their dish dash. The women were in the black. And guess who their favorite character was? Ahmed the Dead Terrorist. Of course.
Wow.
They loved
Yeah.
it. It was like a homecoming when I pulled him out of the box, right? So then, 2 nights later, I'm in the middle of Tel Aviv, Israel, doing the exact same show. Didn't change a word for 4,000 Jewish people. And guess who their favorite character was? Ahmed the Dead Terrorist. Now, there's different reasons that both of those groups loved him, but they both loved him, and I did the same show. So where is the problem here?
Well, we talk about that a lot, that the people who are the loudest about being offended are generally not part of that group.
Right. They think they're some kind of Boy Scouts and sticking up for people that need to be stuck up for. No, you don't. Let them be the judge.
Yeah.
I mean, and wasn't Gabe, did he play Speedy Gonzalez in something? Did he do the voice?
Gabe Iglesias? Or
Yeah.
who?
Yeah, Gabe. Didn't he play it, or he was just talking about Speedy? Because they were trying to cancel Speedy Gonzalez.
Oh, yeah.
And
and
all the
the-
Hispanic people got upset.
Yeah.
It's like Latinx and Latinx. Like the Hispanics are like, fuck this. We're not down with this stuff. This is all sort of middle-aged white women trying to foist their shit on everybody, which is a kind of, it's its own form of racism. Like they don't I did a man show bit. One of the first bits we did was end women's suffrage, and we went down to have women sign petitions and abolish the 19th Amendment. I'm trying to think.
What was the 19th Amendment?
It was the women's right to vote, but I can't remember which one. We were trying to abolish the women's
Yeah, it was the
suffrage.
19th.
Right.
And at some point, there was this like kind of crunchy, kind of hippy-dippy, like 35-year-old woman, and we were getting this Asian woman to help us circulate and get signed. And like at some point, this woman like came up to her and like put her hand on her shoulder, and she went, no, these are white men. Like she's a white lady. Like it was like she was going to explain to this person like this, you can't do. She was going to save this person from
don't do their
from
bidding.
us. Which when that little part where she's like, you understand, these are white men. That encapsulated the entire sort of movement for me.
Have you ever been treated like garbage because
You
you're?
can find that somewhere. That these are white men.
Have you ever been treated like garbage not because you were recognized, but just because you were an older white guy?
In his home, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Thank you. Good night.
Domestic. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it happened to me at a Starbucks up in the
Really?
Northeast, and it was near a college campus, and I'd never experienced this before. And it was in a bookstore, Starbucks in a bookstore, right? And so there was one person ahead of me. So I go up and I go to the counter, and I don't get confrontational. If somebody's treating me like crap, I usually try and like I'll stand if I'll be in line, like when my girls were younger, and I'd say, see this grumpy cashier? I go, before we walk out of here, I'm going to make that woman laugh. And my kids would be like, oh, brother, okay, Dad. And then I usually would, because inside a curmudgeon or somebody that's pissed off, there's somebody that's okay.
Right.
Usually. So I'm in line at this Starbucks, and I go up, and it's a younger guy, and obviously one of the college-age folks, and I didn't do anything wrong. I'm just standing there watching, and they went about filling all the sides, doing everything they possibly could do before they got to me. And I just stood there, and I literally stood there for 6 minutes, and I said, I'm just going to stand here patiently until they come over. There was finally 5, 6 other people behind me waiting in line, and finally he just comes over and looks down, looks up, and he goes, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, what did I do here? Did
Well-
you see my show? Is that the problem? Or is it just me?
I yell about this all the time. I was just yelling about it last week, which is you cannot try to build up a group by saying, this group of women of color or gay men of color, or women or Latinx or LGBT. You can't solely build up one group. That we all applaud that. We go, lift up these poor, Michelle Obama she's a role model for young girls of color, to lift them up and stuff. You can't do that at a Starbucks or on a college campus for very long before you have to take a little something out, like a pound of flesh on Jeff Dunham, who's the whitest man on the planet, because first off, how often can you say, like, these women, we need to lift them up because they're being oppressed. We need to lift them up because they don't have a voice. Well, who's oppressing them? Like, how fast can you do that math? Like, it's kind of a two-way street. It's, let's cheer for the Steelers and we'll beat the shit out of the Ravens fans. It doesn't just cheer for the Steelers. Like, at some point, especially with the horrible narrative that every 19-year-old idiot in that area is hearing constantly, people aren't oppressed in a bubble. It takes the oppressed and the oppressors, and they don't go out and punch a white guy or attack a heterosexual guy. But at a certain point, there's a kind of a de facto math, which is if somebody's oppressing the people of color and the indigenous people and the women and the LGBT community, well, shouldn't we kind of go after the person who is causing this? I mean, shouldn't they wait a little longer to get their frappuccino? Like, there's a B side to it, is what I'm saying.
Every action equal and opposite.
Right. They can't speak it out loud. Oh, we have the Man Show clip.
Oh, good.
Thanks. Could I get a hug? Thank you.
How come it's a man who's doing this?
Because we
what
care.
happened to the women?
The women are lazy, it turns out. Would you like to help us?
Why not?
Because quite frankly, we like to take a little break. If you wouldn't mind walking around with this.
Hello, would you like to sign for the SOMA? What was this?
Suffering of women in this
Suffrage.
country?
See, nobody understands this word. You have to explain the word.
You're right. But
No, this is offensive. Women's
Really?
suffrage is the right for women to vote.
No.
Suffrage gives
That's why I'm
women the
asking
right
them
to
to
vote.
explain and
They're making fun of you.
Really?
No, I'm not a red.
Oh, I don't know where. She said they're white men at some point. But anyway, that was perfect. It's like, no, sweetie. I'm here. I will
Shepherd
correct this.
you through
I will
this.
shepherd you. I'm a
I feel just a little
34-year-old
dirty
woman.
watching that. I just don't feel clean right now.
There was actually Mike Lynch sent me this, and I wasn't going to get into it in the news because it didn't end up happening. But since we're on the subject, I have to read you like 3 lines from this Fox News story, okay? Gettysburg College has postponed a painting and writing event hosted by its Gender, Sexuality, and Resource Center for people who are, quote, tired of white cis men. That is the reason for the writing and painting event. The private Pennsylvania college offered the event as part of a peace and justice senior project, but they've postponed it because now people are pissed about it. But the whole point is to share your art or your writing about how you are tired of cis white men.
Yeah, well, look, when I wanted to be a fireman at my lowest in the North Hollywood Fire Station, where I just, with 19 rudderless, poor parents, poor everything, barely could, I had no education. I was as low as you could get financially. And, I walked in North Hollywood Fire Station. And I said, I need to put in an application. People listen to the show know the story. But the point is this. As they said, it's going to be a long wait. And it was about 7 years before your date to take your test. Because we're just pretty much hiring black people and women and stuff like that. So what I'm saying is North Hollywood Fire Station or LA fire department is diversifying. Good for them.
Yep.
But there's an A and a B.
Yep.
The B was me.
Yep.
I wasn't in some neutral ground. I was like, the guy said, you're white guy, we're not hiring you.
You're the wrong color.
So you're trying to do something good for the woman of color, the Hispanic man or whatever. God bless you, but there's a second part to that story.
Yeah. What did you think of Morgan Freeman's clip from, 12 years ago on 60 Minutes?
Love it.
We played it on the show, and I loved it.
About
Do you
Black
have
History
that?
Month?
Yeah.
The clip of the white man?
Yeah.
And I wonder, obviously, he probably still feels that way. Yeah,
I hope so.
Yeah.
The white man. So this shit's been going on for 20-something years. What?
Good grief. Yikes.
Where are you from, Cameroon?
Did you ever not sleep at night?
No.
No.
I didn't care. All right, let me hit Solo Stove. Oh, these things are great. Campfires, man. Nothing quite like gathering around a warm fire on a cool evening, and now it's getting cool outside. So get your Solo Stove. A smokeless fire pit from Solo Stove makes your outdoor moments even more memorable. Instead of dodging fumes, you can sit and enjoy a fire. And they have a deal going on. You can get great deals on Solo Stove. The Solo Stove fire pit. I have one of these things. I use it all the time. I use it on the 4th of July. I'm going to bust it out again. Now it's getting cool outside. Stainless steel construction designed to regulate airflow and burn more efficiently. It burns so clean. It burns so nicely. Brilliantly engineered, built to last, easy, light, just put a few bits of starter in there. It comes with a carrying case and everything. It is well done, and it works well. Lifetime warranty and a 30-day free return policy. Right, Dawson?
Let the gifting begin. Shop Solo Stove's early deals event for huge site-wide savings and get $10 off with promo code Adam. Plus a lifetime warranty and free 30-day returns. Get an extra $10 off holiday deals at solostove.com, promo code Adam.
Well, Jeff Dunham will hang out for a few more minutes, and we'll do a quick bit of news right after this.
Well, I hate to do it, but have to start off with some absolutely awful news. I don't know if you guys saw the footage. 6 people died Saturday when 2 classic World War II planes collided in midair at a Dallas air show. Authorities said Sunday that the crash left debris scattered around the airport and nearby highway and strip mall. The NTSB will lead a probe into what led to this tragedy at the Wings Over Dallas air show. Dallas Mayor Eric Johnson said that there were no reported injuries on the ground, but again, probably 6 people combined in each plane. I'm going to show it to you just because it is so bizarre if you haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it.
Okay. And it just hits it and they both just go down. A giant, you know more about planes, obviously. Just a giant plane. And then like this littler one just come in and it just crashes right into it.
So they were like, it was like a B-17 or B-19, maybe like World War II 4-engine bomber. And then what they're probably doing is the dude in the Messerschmitt, it was a B-17. Oh, was I right?
Look
the
at
first
you.
guess? I only saw a second and a half of it. Then there's some dude in a Stuka or Messerschmitt or something. It would have been, I mean, should have been German or maybe a Zero like a Japanese, but also could have been like a P-51 Mustang or something. So the idea was they were simulating this thing, I'm guessing, this is the first time I've seen it, of the bomber, and then this would have been this German fighter plane like coming down from the sky, you know, to simulate what was going on back then. And the guy who was coming down was supposed to give him a flyby, and instead of missing by 10 feet, you know,
Went right into him.
Well, his blind spot is underneath, down and below.
Oh,
so his blind spot. And it looks
right.
to me like he's starting a quick left
Go ahead.
turn.
yeah, well, you fly helicopters.
See,
so
he's,
you know.
he's doing
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just looks like if that was nothing nefarious, he just missed it by that much.
Yeah, he was doing, I mean, it was the whole Rhodes, Ozzy Osbourne, camper bus thing, you know, remember that story?
I just remember him rolling an ATV.
No,
No,
was it Rhodes? Who was
it was their bus driver. It was an amateur pilot, and he took Randy Rhodes up in an airplane early in the morning and tried to buzz the tour bus.
And?
crashed, killed him.
Yeah, so he the guy was fucking around, and it took Randy Rhoads, who was like a guitar phenomenon playing for Ozzy Osbourne. It was like, I don't know, 23 or something, and said, let's go have some fun, you know. And of course, you're like, don't do it. And he's like, we're Ozzy sleeping in the tour bus. Let's just go buzz him. Well, he hit him. Oh. And it's the funny thing is if you buzz him and you miss by 6 inches, it's the greatest story everyone ever has. No harm, no foul. But another 6 inches the other way and everyone's dead.
It's a tragedy.
Yeah. What plane was buzzing him, though, Chris? Was that supposed to be like a German plane? But anyway, they're going to have rules, which is go up there, simulate whatever all you want, but no buzzing the B-17.
It was a P-63 Cobra.
Which there was only
that's an American plane.
There's only like 2. There was only 2 left in the flyable. Now there's like 1.
Yeah. Oh, the Cobra.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, really, just one of those. I mean, call it a freak accident, but you know, it's dangerous.
It's pretty preventable.
Yeah.
They have those. They would have those. They would have those B-17s take off from Van Nuys like once a year. And they'd go lumbering right over when I lived up in Lake Hollywood. They'd fly right over Lake Hollywood, and they go right by the Hollywood sign. There's this thing where once a year, maybe on Veterans Day or something, they charge everyone, $200 a flight, and you'd get into this vintage, and take off and just lumber around and come circle back.
I know
around.
one of the pilots that was actually doing some of that buzzing around the valley on a couple of 4th of Julys, I think.
Oh yeah, maybe it was 4th of July.
Yeah, and when we lived, this was not long ago. This was 6 years ago, 5 years ago, and there's been a couple of 4th of Julys where I'm like, what? Who is doing this, and how is this possibly legal?
Yeah,
and he was going by celebrations, sanctioned celebrations, just flying around the valley doing flyovers,
like a B-17.
Yeah, huge thing.
Yeah,
a Hercules. Who's in a Hercules? What's that?
No, the Hercules.
Okay, he was in a Hercules. He was in a Hercules. So
Hercules is a transport plane.
Yeah, still big ass plane.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah. So it wasn't a bomber.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Now, those guys would do it and then flak. And so this was an American plane, the Cobra. So there was just somebody simulating what a, dogfight would be.
Right.
Ugh.
Yeah, really sad. Well, since it's only going to be fresh for, I don't know, maybe the rest of today, let's talk about Dave Chappelle hosting, or at least, his opening 15-minute monologue. He usually does that after elections. His jokes mostly aimed at Kanye West and the Jewish community, and groups like the Anti-Defamation League, not a big fan of most of the 15 minutes. Chappelle opened the bit by reading a statement saying, "I denounce anti-Semitism in all forms, and I stand with my friends in the Jewish community." Then he added, "That, Kanye, is how you buy yourself some time." He then went on to talk about Jews in Hollywood in these 2 clips. I'm going to show you 2. Here's the first one. So there were a lot of those. He also, he talked about Kyrie Irving, suspended from the NBA. By the way, still suspended, even after his apology. Chappelle ended that bit by saying that Jews have been through a lot, but they can't blame those things on Black Americans, which I thought was a very confusing statement that nobody had been making. But here is another clip. So some people not super happy about that. Among the critics is Adam Feldman. He's a theater critic for Time Out New York.
Jewish guy?
Hard to say. Unclear.
I'm looking at that.
Says
Feldman character?
That
critic
for New York
newspaper?
That Dave Chappelle SNL monologue probably did more to normalize anti-Semitism than anything Kanye said. And, I was talking to my friends about this today because I said, look, if it's funny, it's funny. And if he's if it's a well-crafted joke by a brilliant comedian, it just is. But it's like, we just had this election that's like fairly historical in terms of midterms anyway. And didn't come up, we're still talking about Kanye hates the Jews. Can we just I'm Jewish. Can we just get out of the spotlight for 5 minutes? Let's just leave us alone.
Done and done.
Well, that's the thing. It's yes, it does seem to be heavily populated by Jews. Hollywood, I get it. But 99.9% of us have no affiliation. We're just doing other shit.
First off, groups shall inhabit certain roles in society. It never happens in a complete bubble. Like I've said all the time, LAX security is mostly black. I don't know why. Yeah. It just is. I'm guessing somebody got a job there, and then they got their niece a job there at some point, and before you know it, that's the culture at LAX. As a white man who travels, I'm not bothered by it because I'm assuming they're doing their job, but I would also say that the black person shouldn't need the fire department to represent the community. You just need a good fire department. And I've been in show business. There's many Jews in show business. They're more on the executive side than they are on the talent side. Although there's a few on the talent side.
So what are you saying there?
But they're pulling the strings.
Oh boy, here we go.
But here's the deal. If you're a traveler and you don't have a weapon or a bomb on you, then you should travel through LAX regardless of what your ethnicity is, not having a care in the world. And many executives and many folks I've worked with were Jewish, but I assumed that they wanted to make the most money and be the most successful with me, non-Jew, and so they were willing to support, just like the guy who owns the professional football team may be Jewish, but the players aren't. What? He wants to win. You know what I mean? And I knew as long as that code was in place, that it sort of solves everything without having to take a head count, because everyone who runs Comedy Central could be Jewish. Dave Chappelle is not Jewish. Comedy Central wants to make money. Comedy Central will pay Dave Chappelle $50 million to do a show on Comedy Central, and not their cousin who's Jewish, because they're not going to make any money off of that person. And the guy who owns the NFL franchise is not starting his Jewish kid as a DB on the Washington Generals or Redskins or Senators or Enforcers Generals, or whatever we're calling them now.
Globetrotters.
The point is that system, that meritocracy, everyone wants to make money system, keeps everything kind of in check.
Right.
Well, I think Comedy Central has had some real debates in the last few years on that very subject. And I was actually surprised some of the stuff that they let me keep in the show that's going to air, the new special. Because, and we imagine our internal discussions where I honestly bet they're sitting around going, okay, do we want big ratings or do we want to be woke?
Right. That's interesting that they're tacking back to ratings.
Well, I don't know if they are. I'm sure they are, because, like I said, there's some stuff in there that I went, all right.
Like Jimmy's hosting the Oscars. Hollywood is getting away from woke and getting back to ratings. And so, and I never thought about it for a second, but I think there's obviously, if you're from Brooklyn or you're Italian or you went to Wake Forest or something, and there's someone else in the room, like another executive, hey, Wake Forest guy, hey, Brooklyn guy, or hey, Paisan, or something. There's like little elements of that's baked into the cake. It goes with everything. But Jimmy and I aren't Jewish. We did plenty of shows on Comedy Central. They wanted ratings. They wanted to make money. That kind of meritocracy thing is what saves this. It's not somebody being hired to go, right now on air, you have 5 white guys and only 1 woman of color. Like that doesn't fix it. That artificially moves things around and then pisses off one of the white guys who you have to cut. Like, I'm going to take an Asian and remove them from UCLA to make room for a woman of color. All that does is piss people off, and then you do get what you don't want, which is now these Asians are coming together and they're angry, and they're pushing back and there's a lawsuit. Yeah, that does get into the tribalism at that point. Yeah. You go full meritocracy, and I agree with you, Gina. I don't know why I have to talk about it.
I mean, Dave Chappelle is fucking hilarious, and it's a great, he's hilarious, but I'm just kind of, I'm just kind of tired of it.
All right, well, be tired at home.
Okay,
Let's bring it home.
Oh, good, nap time. I'm Gina Grad, and that's the news.
Gina Grad. That was the news with Gina Grad.
Well, let me tell you about my friend Jordan Harbinger. All right. Ari Shaffir and Brad Williams bringing the comedy tomorrow, by the way. Jeff Dunham, Me the People, premieres November 25th on Comedy Central. And also, you can just visit his website, jeffdunham.com. Because the big tour's kicking off, ladies and gentlemen. He's got his semis and he's hitting the road.
Yep. So we're looking for a big rating. It's the day after Thanksgiving. Friday,
Yeah.
sitting around that night. Yay.
He always delivers. The great Jeff Dunham. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks
my
for having
friend.
me.
And Joel Stein, story of the week with Joel Stein. And I'm going to be in the Rialto Theater in Tucson coming up December 15th. And then at the Improv, December 16th and 17th in Tempe. Just go to AdamCarolla.com for all the live shows. Until next time. Adam Carolla for Joel Stein, Jeff Dunham, and Gina Grad. Say it. Mahalo.